Hello everyone, welcome to Obn. This is our weekly program, Talk to Obn, and I have a guest, Ambo Makasa. Our today's guest is from America, and he joined us here at our Obn studio in Finland, and we're going to discuss about the current issues, about the visa restriction and the current pressure on the country from the Western countries. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Dr. Marcus Bakuto, and I'm from Minnesota. So originally I'm from here, obviously from Ethiopia, and I'm an Oromo, and I've lived in the States for 30 years. I left the country in 1990, and so that's my second home, and
Great. Welcome home, and to begin with country, we are witnessing some pressure from the Western country, particularly from US, and some scholars are saying this pressure may cause some destabilization in the Horn region, in the Horn Africa, cause taking the consideration to the Ethiopia's greater role in the Horn of Africa. And what is your take on that?
Well, that is a good question. When it comes to America, the conflict between Ethiopia and America didn't start, just about 3 months or 4 months. It has started maybe about a year, about 2 years ago. And also, the Horn of Africa and Ethiopia and America had a good relationship, and also there were issues that actually Ethiopia and America were working together to make sure Horn of Africa would be peaceful. And right now at the moment I don't see anything that would destabilize the Horn of Africa, and that is not actually an issue right now, and I don't have any concern with that, because Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa, Eritrea, Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Sudan, I don't see no war between these two countries, and this is an issue between Ethiopia and the States maybe. So I really don't see that concern right now as an American citizen, and I'm born here, of course, originally. So I don't have that concern at all.
I see some scholars are raising this question because Ethiopia is playing a great role in keeping the peace of the Horn region. And if Ethiopia is destabilized, it means that the Horn at all. That's why they are raising this question. And what do you say on that?
Well, they have raised that before. For example, when the TPLF group started conflict with the Ethiopian government, and the concern was that the TPLF group has the experience and the force and the establishment that would escalate war in Ethiopia, which would spill onto the Horn of Africa. That was the fear. That is the fear that not only Americans, most African countries shared, not only Africans, even Ethiopians shared, but I think that proved not to be true, not because that would have not happened, but the way Ethiopia handled itself, the way Ethiopia handled the conflict. Actually, we are beyond that. I don't see any fear that any force or a war in Ethiopia would spill onto the neighboring countries, causing that, because pretty much that scenario didn't leave its course. So I don't see that fear at all, and they can make that assumptions, they can say that, but what we see and what we hear would not really justify that.
I see. Does the current visa restriction has nothing to do with the Tigray crisis? Because some scholars are raising another issue.
Wow. The visa restriction, why would the U.S. would restrict an Ethiopian diplomat or whatever because of that. I mean, there was a conflict in Ethiopia, of course, and within Ethiopia, it is an issue that should be contended within Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a sovereign country. Let's say if anything happened in one of the states in America, there shouldn't be any reason why Ethiopia would restrict its visa to American diplomats. There's no point. So the humanitarian issue was going on since we were born. I mean, so I don't see that connection at all. There are other issues. You have to start from something anyway. This is the reason right now. So America has national interest on the region, not only on the region, on the world. So they have been using Ethiopia as one of their allies to do whatever they wanted to do. So right now, I guess Ethiopia is saying no to that. Ethiopia is saying, we're friends, but we're not going to be, hand twisted by America or any other country. And then now they're saying, wait a minute, why, then it's like punishing your child. Mm-hmm. So maybe America is thinking like that, but there is other world powers like China and Russia and all these other connections. So I think that those are the reasons why Americans are trying to, they're trying to say, unless you listen to us, unless you do what we say, then this is what we're going to do. So they're starting to do that, but I don't know how far that would go.
Mm-hmm. I see. Mostly the Western media and organizations are raising about the humanitarian crisis in Tigray and the humanitarian assistance, but the reality on the ground is the Ethiopian government is supplying more than 70% of humanitarian assistance to the Tigray regional state. And why they are unable to report that?
Well, why they did not report that? The reason is that is not their issue. That's not their issue at all. Mm-hmm. But that's the only issue that they can use. There are lobbyists. There are, the human rights issue in Ethiopia. If we shorten it to 27 years, it's been going on. There are Ethiopian citizens who are American citizens been rallying against the human rights violations. That is when the TPLF government used to govern this country. So it wasn't an issue then. America never ever raised that issue when actually unanimously Ethiopians all over the world, not only all over the world, but Ethiopians in Ethiopia were constantly for years protesting against the regime. Americans didn't say that. Americans didn't say, hey, there is a human rights violation. CNN didn't report that. When 500, 600, 700 Oromo kids at Bishoftu, I didn't see them saying, you're not going to come in until you solve this. Nothing happened then. Why now? And the Ethiopian government did not wage war against the Tigrayans. It's against the TPLF. Actually, I would say a friend of, they've made those personal connections, when they were on leadership. And Americans used to praise them. Americans used to use them as an example to African growth, African democracy, while the citizens were rallying day after day, showing facts on the ground. When the military were shooting on kids, and when the prison in Ethiopia was filled with Ethiopians, and when the refugees were going to Australia, Canada, America, then what happened then? So it's even, I don't see those things happening now. So the issue is not about the Tigrayans or the Tigrayan state. See, the larger Oromo state was under command for how many years? So why wasn't that an issue? So the issue is actually, it started with Egypt and other, we don't want to get into that. It's American interest in the region. It's, their friends, Israel and Egypt, connection with Israel. Now Egypt is angry about the river and all this. And they said, you know what, we can stop you, you need to listen to Egypt. That's where everything started. That's when they said, we're not going to give you 300 million that we used to give you unless you say, let's come sign this. Then that's where everything started. So now CNN started to say, oh, human rights violation. Where? By who? So I really don't think that is the case. But at the same time, there are lobbyists who are making this, articulating this to the American lawmakers, telling them that articulating this war as a war to start all their arguments, and there are opposition groups, and it's a change, it's a reform. Americans know that. So there are oppositions against this reform, and the Ethiopian government struggling within and outside. So as it takes this reform to a next level. So these opposition parties are using this Tigrayans issue and saying, oh, this is happening, so stop Ethiopians from doing that. So it's an inside policy, but this is what the lobbyists are working for. They are paid to do this. The American system works with the lobbyists. You have to articulate things. And Americans are good at listening too. They know, they listen. So if you lobby around them, if you go and ask senators to write resolutions and do all that, they will do it. That's what they're doing. We've been doing that with them. They were writing resolutions against the TPLF, but that just, it just goes to the drawer. And they never came up with CNN and all this campaign against the Ethiopian government. So that is just, scapegoat. It's just say, that's why we're doing this. And they can do that. They can amplify that, And it's a war, it's happened. So there are going to be clashes, people are going to die, things are going to happen. But the Ethiopian government is taking care of, as we see it. It's doing what it can. So I think that's how I see it.
I see. As you're raising now some misinformation, or what we call just fake information, are going all over the world about the country, and what expect from the Ethiopian government and the stakeholders so as to develop now the reality on the ground?
So when we say fake information, it's misinformation and everything. Where does that come from? Let's say if you have an issue, if you cannot articulate your issue to me, and somebody comes and tell me about you, then of course I would listen to the other, I would have other interests too. So right now there are misinformations. By who? Who fits those misinformations? The opposition parties. People who don't want to take this change. People who would, this is how we see it. A change happened in Ethiopia. There are groups who would say, we don't want this change. We want it to go back to, what it was before. And then at the same time, there are maybe groups who would say, oh, we're supposed to be the one who should be bringing this change, not them. So we're not going to take it because there are other benefits and other political power, and this we struggled for it, and these guys don't deserve. So there are these two groups who are running side by side, and now they have to say, these guys are not there. These guys are real guys. even if you accept change, they're saying, no, 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 this guy not able to bring the change. And then there are others who would say, no, we've been doing this, and we need that, same lifestyle, and Ethiopia was growing, and buildings and bridges and all that, and we bring that and all that. So I think that is what it is. But those misinformations are articulated by these groups, and the Ethiopian government also needs to articulate that, and also be persistent on what it does, because things change on the ground. If you work, if you govern, if you're strong, and if you sometimes they don't have ear to your information, they don't want to listen to it. There is this media, this social media junk, and all these misinformations. People listen to what they want, but the Ethiopian government needs to be persistent, needs to tell the truth, needs to do that. I think that's how I see it.
I see. Together, the stronger we become, and divided, the weaker we become. And what message do you want to convey to the politicians in the country, especially the Oromos, in that?
The message I have is this: the change has come. We have come thus far. We have history, especially the Oromos, and the last 27 years, some may say. And then they can even go farther, 18 years of Dirk. And then there are others who would say 150 years back. We've been through this. We have suffered enough. And this change has come. The change, of course, is going to face resistance, because the establishment and the culture and even the direction of change would not be clear, crystal clear for everyone, and say, okay, this is the direction we go. Nobody has that. But we need change. And the change has come. So my call on any politicians, any Oromos, or even Ethiopians, is that this change is, I think, is here to stay, and we have to make good use of it. I think that's how I wanted to sum it. We have to make good use of it. We have to help our people our people are like, this is third world country. Of course it's third world country. 70, 80, 60% of our people don't see, food, electricity, all this. And there is a lot to be done. And our people are poor. And 60, 70% unemployment. I can see kids on the street. So what do we really want? So power by itself, I have to commit to service to my people, not to power. There's only one person. There's only one party that can lead a country at one time. But all of us needs to look back at our people, the agony we went through. And we need to be a service to them, rather than coming to maybe what you call, we call it White House, Arat Kilo, and go back to local, to Kabale, whatever. I don't know what it is. It's been 30 years. So go back to local. Be a mayor at the local level. Be a leader at the county level, at Warada, whatever. And change the culture. Work hard. Bring people up. The grassroots. Bring them up. The power is going to be run, the country is going to be run by one party, one person. That person is going to go. So for me to even desire to lead a country, I need to be at their service first. So what I there is an American president who would say, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do to your country. And maybe our people need to know, of course there are all these animosities and all this, but we cannot risk this change. We don't even know what happens if this change fails. I don't know if they have blueprint. I don't know if anybody knows what will happen if this changes. So I would call on them to be a service to their people. Help the change. Help the change. Be the change agent. Stand by the leaders. It's okay. We can make them friends. So that is my message, and that's what everybody needs to do.
I see you made a great explanation, and much thanks indeed.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for the good job that you guys do.
All right. Dear listeners, this is all we have for today. Thank you for being with us.